मकान एक बार गिर गए वैसे बनते कहाँ हैं, जैसे थे तूने अपने दिल से बनाए। वो कारीगर यूं हाथों से थे सजाए। आए ना तेरी याद उनको, आए ना तेरी याद उनको।
Anuv Jain is an artist who, has this tendency to give us music that gives us depth, but also something which we, can kind of flow through in a calm manner. And he's my guest today on Take a Pause to kind of dig into his process, dig into his mind, and also to understand his whole thought process around relationships, love, and everything else. All this and more on this episode of Take a Pause. But before you go there, I want to make sure you hit subscribe and smash that bell icon and into my chat with Anuv. So the first question is always an interesting one because I always have to figure out how to start a conversation off, and that's always the most thing to think about. I actually thought I'd ask you by saying, if someone asked you, what does your voice sound like? What would you say?
Oh God, that's the first question is only confusing me right now. But I think my voice is a little has a bit of how do you say it? It's not that old. I feel. I think I look very young as well, and I sound extremely young as well. Um, it's a very raw voice. It's not trained at all, but I think it still reaches people. I feel. I mean, jitna meko abhi tak I have gotten the reviews from people. I think it reaches people, so I'm happy about that.
No, I asked this question because I often find it interesting to anyone who uses their voice as a form of expression.
Yeah.
I think almost like, what do you think your voice sounds like?
Yeah.
Is a question like I heard this once in a podcast, and I was like, one thing, that entire podcast was asking guests what their voice sounded like, and it was so interesting what everybody came up with. I'm like, I have to use this at some point when I get someone in who, but
But I'll tell you something. So some people, when they record their own voices and they go like, "Oh, I hate it."
I hate my voice.
Yeah. But I don't mind my voice. I think I'm okay with it. I find comfort in my own voice as well. Whenever I'm listening to my songs and all, I find that comfort. So it's fine.
And how did your journey to music happen? Was it something you kind of got onto very early, or was it something that gradually grew in?
So the thing is that I have been singing since the longest time ever, since I was a kid. I don't even remember how long it has been. But I never thought of taking it up professionally. I always thought it'll always be a hobby. I'll do something on the side, and this made me very happy. So I was a part of the school choir as well. I'm from a Catholic school, so I was a part of the school choir. Every morning at 7:30, we were outside the principal's office just singing. So that's something that I've done. And when I was 16, there was this band that came to my school. And I absolutely fell in love with the guitar because there was this guy who was playing the guitar. And I was like, okay, this is something that I really want to pick up. Came back home, told mom that, Mom, I really want to like learn the guitar as well. And she's always been supremely supportive of everything. So she, in just a matter of few days, she got me the guitar, enrolled me in one of the neighborhood classes and all. And I was singing, I was playing the guitar, and then songwriting just came very naturally. But I still never thought that this is something that I'll actually do. But until recently, I just started professionally 3 years ago. And because of certain personal family things that happened, it pushed me into music, and I'm so happy that it did. At that time, it seemed like a very morbid situation in my life, like very difficult situation. But now I'm look back at it, so I'm happy that things just turned out well.
You said songwriting came to you naturally.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you wrote something to sing?
To sing, yeah.
How was that? How do you look back at that point? Not what you wrote, but like, what did that feel like?
I was very happy about it because initially it was influenced by Backstreet Boys a lot. So it was all about love and all of that. And then gradually, just in a few months, I don't know why, how I transformed, and I started listening to Linkin Park a lot. And then I got into my emo phase, where I'm just like writing about it. Something's crawling in my skin. And I wasn't even a sad child, man. I was really happy in my life, but I don't know what happened. So yeah, that's how it started. I used to write in English first, but my guitar teacher he suggested that why don't you start writing in Hindi, and that was a really brilliant suggestion because I realized I had a knack for it, so it was pretty cool.
There's this thing with the music you listen to that pushes you, like you mentioned. I think there was everybody had that emo phase, and I think there are different kinds of emo artists you go after, which really you use that to kind of. I think a while back we had someone on the podcast who said that in many ways we express ourselves through the music we listen to, because we don't. Sometimes you don't have a way to express what maybe you think you are going through, maybe you feel like you should be going through. You listen to something that kind of helps you channel that and put it out there. But as you saw your craft kind of evolve, because when I listen to your music, and I'll tell you what, I find it to be at one level extremely calming, but it's almost like that, there's depth there, but it's also calm. It's not pushing you to go too deep, but
Yeah,
it's giving you depth while being calm. It's
yeah.
that mixture for me as a listener. As you found your voice in terms of what your music sounds like today, is that how you look at it? How do you look at your own music?
Yeah, I actually think that that's very true because when I'm writing, obviously a lot of it comes naturally to me as well, but there's a conscious decision as well that I take. If a person is just listening to these songs just on surface level, right? They can enjoy the melody, they can enjoy the commercial aspects of the song, but you can keep on diving deeper and deeper into the way it's written, and there are so many levels to the entire thing, and because there is so much wordplay, there's so many thoughts that I have put in based on my own life and like experiences that I've like literally my tiny stories that I've put in these songs. So if people follow me, they know my stories, then they will take away a lot more. But if somebody has never even heard of me and they hear the song for the first time, there's something for them as well. So I definitely see it that way. Like there's a lot of depth if you find it, if you want to look for it, but you can enjoy it on the surface level as well. So that's how it is.
And what's your process like to write now? I mean, how do you channel these things and put it on paper?
A lot of nervous breakdowns. I get very worked up. So there's this running joke in my house that whenever I'm writing, nobody should trouble me because I am the most moody person ever. I am very irritable as well. But when I finish a particular sentence or like the perfect line fits and all of those things happen, the euphoria is also like insane. I literally give my family like a mini treat. Ha, theek hai, okay, like I've written this, let's celebrate. That's how it is. So it's a very weird time in my house, but I think my mom has now become really patient with me. She has gotten used to it, I think. But for somebody looking at it externally, they'll be a little, I don't know, taken aback. कि ये क्या हो रहा है?
When I look at it, there's one song in particular, and I was again listening to your music in the morning before coming in here. Um, I'm always hard pressed between which one do I like more. Do I like Gul more? Do I like Alag Aasman more? I'm always like kind of veering towards that. I'd love to hear the story behind both the tracks from you.
Okay. So do you want me to do Alag Aasman first? Because that was the song that I released before Gul. The song is about a long distance relationship. And this is something that I wrote when I was in one. Unfortunately, I just find myself in long distance relationships for some reason. So yeah, I was in one, and I really wanted to write something that could talk about everything that I've felt. Um, but I wanted to do it very smartly. So the way the song is written is that, like I said, like surface level, it's a long distance relationship song, right? And you can enjoy it that way. But if you actually look at it, it's actually a girl leaving this guy's house and going back to her own house, which is in a different city under a different sky, Alag Aasman. So in the beginning, she says that there's this line, "ये नर्म चादरों की सिलवटें तुझे बुला रही हैं," which is that she's still at the guy's house. And then ये गाड़ियों की दौड़ सा तेरा भी दिल दौड़ता है. So she sits in the cab and she's going somewhere. And then she finally reaches the airport, and this is where the guy is with her and says his goodbye. कि एक बार फिर हंस के जरा देख ले इन आंखों में, कैद कर लूँ हर वो पल तेरा तेरी ये बातें. And then she sits in the plane. तो तुम उड़े जा रहे ये आसमां में खिड़कियों से देख. And then she finally reaches her house. खाली घर तेरा चाबियों की गूंज ऐसे. So if somebody wants to enjoy it just on the surface level, they can really enjoy it just as a long distance relationship song with tiny stories. But if you see it as a whole, it's actually a full story, like from start to end. And that's how it has been written. I was really proud of the way it came out.
And it's such an interesting insight. I think everybody goes through long distance relationships.
Yeah.
I've often wondered how long distance relationships differ from the time when I had one, because I was still early internet, so you'd still just have to phone calls and SMSs were a thing. You didn't have
Yeah.
the video
Well,
call
I've been through the
opportunities and
same the
stuff.
same things. That's why.
And I went through a phase I remember in my life when I only had long distance relationships as well. And I've always had this reasoning that you have long distance relationships when you are so deep into what you do that it almost becomes something you can manage with work and everything else that you do, versus if you had a relationship with someone in the same space, it involves a lot more. It actually takes so
Yeah.
much more out of you.
That's true. That's
That's
true.
how it was for me, because I would do like 15-20 day shoot schedules as a producer, and then I have to and then take like 1 week off to go, or whoever I was dating would kind of fly down. But the moment you spoke of, I think, is interesting, right? Is the moment of when you're leaving.
Yeah, you're leaving. Yeah.
And you often talk about the meeting part
Yeah.
when someone's kind of coming. That moment, okay, we're spending time together, but there's a certain silence in that moment.
Yeah.
And that shows in the song. Now that when you're saying that, I was thinking of that, because it's also that silence which is there saying, this is, you're back to what it was like before you
Yeah.
spent time
Yeah.
together.
Exactly. Yeah.
How do you channel silences into a song?
I'm actually finding it very difficult to do that because my mom also talks about it. So my mom is like really important whenever I'm writing a song. So she's gonna crop up a lot in this conversation because whenever I'm writing, she's always sitting with me and she's helping me out with everything. So, but my mom also tells me something that whenever I start writing, it's like I'm just constantly just like going on, and even in my songs, like I will not stop that much, one lyric after the other, one lyric after the other, one lyric after the other. So I'm actually trying to figure out silences, honestly. But let's see how that goes.
Like you said,
But I'll tell you something
yeah,
about Alag Aasman, though.
yeah,
Like you just said, right, that it's about a person going away, and people talk about meeting, right? But the final paragraph of the song is actually a very hopeful one. The person says that अब अलग आसमां है और है ज़मीं भी कुछ अलग सी पर मिलोगे जब कभी. So it talks about मिलना वापस. मिलोगे जब कभी तो देखना तभी कि मैं कुछ अलग नहीं. That I will not be different. I'll still be the same even if we meet after a few years or whatever. Like even if we meet after a few months or whatever it is. So it's a very hopeful song. So it's not very. It's not.
no, it's definitely hopeful, because it's why I said that your music has this unique ability of making you feel things and channel it the way you want to. It's not telling you what you're supposed to feel.
Yeah.
It's letting you take what you want to feel out of it in that
Yeah.
sense. It's almost like you're not shoving it on people.
Yeah, yeah,
You have,
of
it's not like emo. Be emo with this. You're not
No,
doing
no,
that to
that's
someone.
that's never the case.
But I actually want to ask you, because you mentioned your mother a few times. I'm saying, and everybody has, especially anyone who's an artist and in this space, has almost bouncing boards in that sense.
Yeah.
Um, has she been that bouncing board for you throughout this journey for you?
What would a bouncing board mean exactly?
You're bouncing when you're writing lyrics, when you're composing, almost like throwing stuff at
Oh
her
yeah,
to see
yeah,
how
yeah.
she
Got
reacts
it. Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
taking perspective.
Yeah, she's the number one person. Like when it comes to being a bouncing board, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the person because we stay together. Obviously, I have a twin sister as well, but she stays in Bombay, so she's not with. She doesn't stay with us. So it's just the two of us. And whenever I'm writing, I don't know, for some reason, she has a very good general sense of things, and she really talks like as if like the masses would talk to me. She understands things just that way. So it's very good to have a person like that, because whenever I share something, she always has like her 2 cents about it, that whether this is going to work, this doesn't work. And I think her Hindi is way better than mine. So I also like कि मैं कुछ गलत तो नहीं लिख रहा हूँ या something कि oh this word means that, right? And so she'll sit with me, and so she's always been a bouncing board that way, because I always keep on telling her ideas. There have been times when I am sitting in my room and it's 3 a.m. in the morning and I come up with a sentence, and I have been like working for 3 days to just come up with that one perfect line, and I finally crack it. I will literally run downstairs just to meet her, and I'll wake her up like in the middle of the night. Mom, listen, listen, listen. Like I have finally cracked it. And she's very patient. She never says anything. She's the best when it comes to this. She'll be the happiest to just, wake up at 3 a.m., open her door, and then sit with me, and then I'll keep on explaining her the lines and all. So she's definitely like brilliant that way.
Are you learning to be patient from her?
Yeah, I'm trying to be patient for her because sometimes I lose my patience, but I know that she's also growing older, and things are that way, and I need to be a bit more patient with people around me as well. So I'm trying to be patient for her and learning from her as well.
Actually, we were talking about Gul, and I'd love you to talk about that song as well.
Okay, so Gul is basically a song about a heartbreak and moving on. Um, all of my songs have stories. This one does too. It's basically an intervention song. It was written as an intervention song. It's about this friend talking to a friend of hers or a friend of his, and they're saying that they're just showing them their third person, whatever perspective, that there is this relationship that our protagonist is in, right? And that's not working out. And the friend is just suggesting that you should move on, that this is not going to work out, so just move on. So it's basically me being that friend and just telling everybody who's trying to move on that it's not going to work out, man. So there are a lot of these lines that um, ना दस्तकें ये तेरे दिल की हैं धड़कनें. She's waiting for somebody, so she's waiting for that knock on the door. But what she needs to realize is that that voice is not actually a knock on the door. It's actually her elevated heartbeat that she's listening to, and listen to what it's saying. कि आए नहीं जिनके ते वादे वक्त उलझा हुआ है तेरे यहाँ पे. So the person that you've been waiting for is not gonna come back. They have moved on, so you better move on as well. So आए ना तेरी याद उनको, आए ना तेरी याद उनको. And then there is this line which has become extremely popular now on reels and Instagram, everything, which is टूटे मकान एक बार गिरकर वैसे बनते कहाँ हैं जैसे थे तूने अपने दिल से बनाए ओ कारीगर यूं हाथों से दिल से जाए. That sometimes you keep on trying to fix things, but you have to understand that there are certain things that cannot be mended, and you just need to move on. And certain houses that have been broken cannot be built the same way that they were, and you spent so much effort and so much time in building those, but they just cannot be made the same way. But again, this also has a very hopeful tone, because the bridge that comes in afterwards, that the song says that किताबों के घर दुनिया है तेरी धूल भरे पन्नों में तू क्या ढूंढती. So she was basically looking for fairy tales, परियों की कहानी. All of these are like in the lyrics, basically these words are in the lyrics. So परियों की कहानी और क्या हो गया जादूगरी तेरे दिल में है बाकी. That you even if the person did not love you, you can still love yourself. You still have that magic within your heart. And then I talk about कि since she was in a kitabo ghar, which is a library, and she's looking through things, कि कागज के पन्नों में there is a rose, a gul that is waiting for you, ठीक है. And then ये it's basically a treasure that is waiting to be found, and that is basically her smile. That she keeps on flipping the pages for like a fairy tale, but she doesn't understand that there is another treasure, which is like that murjhaya or flower that's there. And what I'm trying to say is that once she gets it out, that's her smile. क्योंकि जैसे फूल खिलते हैं and वैसे ही मुस्कुराहटें और smiles also like smiles खिलती हैं. So I was trying to draw a parallel between that. And then I say that is what you're waiting for. You're just looking for like a smile. That's what कब खिलेगी ये मुस्कुराहट. And that's how the song is. So it's like right now as well, like I know I can like go deeper and deeper into it, because every word, like there's so much wordplay in all of these songs, but you can just enjoy it the way it is as well.
Just hearing you talk about both these songs, right? And you're talking about things that everybody goes through, everybody feels, situations that are part of everybody's lives. Like we've all had that situation. I think in many cases, right, you had a friend trying to tell you that, you also try to be
Yeah.
that friend to someone
Yeah,
else.
exactly. Yes.
And it's always a tough conversation to have. It's a tough position to find yourself in. Do you think that music in some ways gives you almost a way to understand these emotions, or understand these conversations better?
Yeah, definitely. Because the thing with the song is that I wrote it from a lot of my own personal experiences. Everybody has gone through heartbreak. I'm no different. And I wrote it from a lot of my own experiences when I was going through that. And this is something that I would tell myself. The friend is me, the person is me, like I'm basically talking to myself if I had to. But I'm just telling myself all of these things. And I genuinely believe, like, especially coming from like the people who've spoken to me about this, who I meet people backstage, people who've heard this song, and they tell me that the song really helped them move on. And I genuinely believe that music has that power, because there have been a lot of songs in my life as well that, I heard them and I took something very beautiful for them from them, something that I never thought about, and my mind just opened up to a new idea or a new concept, or I found a lot of peace or comfort in that particular thing. So I guess like music has that power.
Do you feel also helps you as an individual channel things that you're going through? Like you said that you've been through
Definitely.
that, and
Definitely.
you spoke about something that happened, which almost like changed the trajectory of your life.
Yeah.
Have you almost found that your craft is your way to channel what you're feeling and how you move forward?
In a lot of ways. I think I'm just limited by my own words, I feel. I wish I had like words for so many things that I feel, but it's difficult. Like you have to fit so many things in that economy of words and all as well. But um, definitely in some way, yes. Because everything that I've written so far is, like I said, based on my own life and my experiences. These are my tiny stories. And whenever I look back, listen to these songs, I'm taken back to those moments, oh, this is why I wrote this and this is why. Like just talking about it right now with you is taking me back to the moment, like all the things that I've been through with Gul and Alag Aasman as well. So it makes me very happy that I could just document all of these moments. And yeah, it did help me move on, man. Like it did help me let go of things. And it did help. Even writing something for someone has made me fall more in love with them as well, just putting it down, on a piece of paper. Because the process, I keep on telling the closest people around me as well, that whenever I'm writing, I, like I said, I go into a very moody zone, right? Because I'm constantly thinking about that person, and that makes you fall in love with that person a lot more as well. If they're not a part of your life, the memories also come back, which makes you very emo as well. So yeah, it helps you, like, let go of certain things too.
And that's often the one of the things we don't talk about enough about just having a creative outlet in life is that any creative outlet helps you both understand and connect with things you're going through. It doesn't have to be okay. When people say like, I'm a bathroom singer, or like I think my lyrics don't sound that good, but or I don't think anybody should read what I've written. But the whole point is that you're finding an outlet for your emotions. And
Yeah.
do you think that gives you clarity as well? That gives you clarity on
Yeah,
things that
definitely.
go through.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course it does. I was giving an interview a couple of days back, and I realized that this actually happens. That whenever I go back to listening to some of these songs, and they give me certain suggestions as well. Like Gul, for example, asks you to move on. So whenever I go back to that song, I realize, okay, like this is how you have done it in the past. Like you need to do it again as well. So it does give you like a lot of clarity. It makes you, like I said, very emotional and puts things into perspective. So yeah, that definitely happens.
Are you someone who has clarity in general, or are you someone who's confused?
I think I have a long-term clarity, but I'm confused like in a very short-term way, because I know where I want to be. I'm very clear about it. Every year I'll make my lists. 1st of January, I'll sit down and I'll make all the list. Sorry, 31st of December, I'll make a list of everything that I want to achieve in that one year. But getting there, like the short-term goals and all, I'm very confused about those things. But it's working out for me, abhi tak. So let's see how that goes.
Do you have a process how you work towards them, or you just the long term goal is an interesting one, right? Because we all struggle with this. We all have long term things that you want to achieve, and the the work that gets you there is often the short term stuff, and that's the one you actually struggle with the most. Or all of us do. Do you have a process?
I do have a process. It's very easy, by the way. Just sit down and work. That's what it is. Because I have realized that so my work is a lot to do with creativity, right? And creativity is not going to strike you every day, but I do definitely believe the fact that you need to enable creativity to flow, right? So you need to sit down every day, even if you're not feeling creative, even if you're feeling the most dull and you have like this block in your head and you feel as if you can never write any the worst person ever, and like full imposter syndrome and all, everything is going on, but you still need to sit down. That discipline is key. And I'm not saying that I've achieved that. I'm getting better at it, because I really respect what I'm doing and I really want to grow in this field, man. I also have like my goals, like those long-term clarity goals that I have. So for that, I do sit down every day. I'll keep on sitting every day just to figure things out. There are days when I don't even write anything, but then eventually something comes out and that's just brilliant. So that's how it is. Very easy. There's nothing much to it. Just sit down every day and work.
And that's a tough thing to do, right? Because oftentimes you can sit in that chair and there's this whole concept of resistance that you feel,
Yeah.
that you resist sitting in that chair saying, no, not today. And then there's this feeling of I'm not feeling it,
Yeah.
so I won't sit. So you're almost forcing yourself to sit on that chair and write. And then you're sitting there looking at that blank page and you're like, but I'm not getting anything. So
Yeah.
how do you push back from that resistance?
It's very difficult. I genuinely believe if somebody can do that, they literally have a superpower. Because right now, if you can, I think the world generally is like a little messed up right now. Our attention spans have really reduced. I do believe that because I can see it in myself as well. It's become very difficult for me to, do my daily tasks and all. But if anybody can do it, please teach me as well, because I would love to learn. Because I know for a fact that if you have that discipline where you can like literally get bored and make yourself sit, you can achieve the best and the most amazing things in life. I think I'm like 50% there. Oh, to reach that 100% is a task. Let's see how that goes.
We talk about the value of getting bored on this show a lot.
Oh, you do?
Many we've had. I think I've had a few guests who kind of come in, and we're all trying to channel boredom back into our
Oh,
lives
yeah.
because it's so easy to not be bored. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. It's so easy to just pick up your phone and not
Yeah.
be bored. And how do you push yourself to actually be bored and
Be
also
bored.
make sure you stay
Stay
there?
bored, yeah.
Do you like lock your phone away and say, I'm not
Yeah,
put your
yeah,
phone,
yeah.
nothing else. I'm sitting alone in that room.
Basically, what I'll do is I'll put my phone on airplane and I'll just like put it somewhere in the house. I should ideally probably just give it to my mom and she'll put it in the safe and like just put this thing so I can just not take it out. But yeah, I'm not there yet. I still have my attachment to my phone, but I'll usually what I'll do is I'll put it on airplane. I'll just like keep it somewhere, and I think it takes me about an hour to get into that zone. And once I am, then I don't care about it that much. I don't even like, my manager is sitting here as well, and she knows that I don't use social media that much. I'm actually very rarely on it. I barely post pictures. I've been lucky that my audience still, turns up whenever I want them to. But I'm quite a lot away from it. I'm not really that much into it anyway. So it takes that 1 hour, man, just to get over it, and then I'm completely okay. In fact, like I was actually reading about this. I love taking flights because you don't get to use your phone, right? So I just keep my phone on the side and I'll start thinking, procrastinating, sleep, whatever. I'll just get bored, right? But they are like planning on putting like proper Wi-Fi in all flights and all of those things. Like, please don't do it. That's just that one time that I have like 2 hours of complete isolation from the world. That's what I want, but let's see.
It's almost like we're trying to find spots of
Yeah, where you're not connected.
disconnection.
Yeah, where you're not connected with anybody.
Connection keeps coming there in some way for
Yeah.
you to be able
Why
to.
are these SIM cards getting better? What is up?
There's an other part of what you just said, which I actually want to ask you about, right? Is that as you grow as an artist, you also build an audience, and it's almost like this two sides of what you do. Is one is that there's you doing the process of creating alone, and then you have to perform on stage to an audience. You have to some form of interaction, even on social, etc. Do you struggle with balancing those? Because almost like you're asking a persona to function in two different ways altogether.
Honestly, I have actually been very lucky. Whatever I put out on social media and like the way I am with people, I'm pretty much the same in my house as well. They just don't see a few sides of me, but if I were to ever show it, I will be very truthful about it. It's just that I just don't post that much on social media anyway. But I have been like pretty much the same, so it's not a problem. My mom finds it a bit difficult though, because like whenever I'm even my friends for that matter, because they know me as just this goofy normal boy, right? I'm just a very simple sa boy. I watch anime, I do my things, and I go to sleep. That's how I am. But whenever we go out, the people recognize me and they like really lose their shit. And my friends are just like looking at me. What the hell is going on, man? Where is our treat? You're still over 10 rupees. That's how it is usually. So it's a bit difficult for them to handle it. I am pretty much okay with it. Yeah, because I'm not faking it. I'm like the way I am. on stage, I am at my house as well.
So no nervousness, no
Oh no,
jitters.
nervousness and all this, definitely. Nervousness, in fact, because I'm pretty much myself. That definitely makes me nervous. That what if people actually don't like me? This is like literally me putting myself out there. And plus, the thing is that I was always a very shy kid. Um, I was so the thing with me is that I don't want to brag, but I was always an overachiever. I was always good at anything that I picked up. Sports, I was very good at it. Music, I was very good at it. Even I've done both inline and skates as well, like skating, like inline and roller skates as well. And I was really good at that. So everything that I picked up, I've been good at it. But for some reason, I never believed in myself. For some reason, I don't know why. Um, so I was very shy. I never used to go out there and be like, oh, मैं सबसे अच्छा हूँ or I'm the best or whatever it is. I always used to be like, okay, I'm fine, and used to do pretty well, excel pretty much in like everything. So right now, when I'm in front of people, and there are so many people, like thousands of people watching me live, every night and all, it makes me very nervous because I used to find it difficult talking to like two people, a few years ago, and now I've been thrown into this mix where millions of people are listening to my music. It does, take a toll on your brain and your mind as well. Okay, what's going on? But I also believe that, these are problems that you need to deal with. If you're in a particular industry, you want to grow, then you just have to accept these things. That this is what your life is, this is what you've signed up for. Just get used to it. So I'm trying to do that right now.
It's interesting what you just said, right? And because oftentimes when you do well at certain things, the tendency is to brag about it. Is one, I think, one category of people. The other category is you're satisfied that you've done it.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need other people to validate that,
Yeah.
or need them to even know that you're doing it.
Yeah.
And that for me is the more interesting category, because I feel that there are enough people who struggle with that. I've struggled with just any form of anyone saying you're doing well, because I'm
Yeah.
very bad in like
Taking
get me into a
compliments.
group of like many people. I'm the most draining piece for me energy wise is like put me in middle of like 50-60 people, and
Yeah.
I'm like I will come back feeling more exhausted, and the people behind the cameras he will vouch for that is whenever I go for anything which is public, I come back saying, guys, I can't record tomorrow, is my general response. Do you, and the reason I brought that up is because there's also this concept of energy, right?
Yeah.
There's some things you really gain energy from and some things which drain energy from you. Do you feel any aspect of what you do is like a bit of a drain of energy on you, and you almost have to replenish it by doing stuff that gives you energy?
Yeah, definitely. I am almost always drained, man. I never have energy, I feel. Because it's a lot of mental burden whenever you're like dealing with so many people. It's like a constant just getting messages from thousands of people and so much going on in your life. And my life is like pretty exciting that way. It is too exciting for my own good, I feel sometimes. So it drains a lot of your energy as well. Like imagine right now also, just to be here, I've traveled 2 hours just to be here, to make it more exciting, obviously, because this is work. Like I want to do it, I'm very happy that I'm here, but so much to do, man. We are sleeping late nights, there's so much going on, then you're standing in front of people, then you want to meet them eventually after your shows are done. You're getting pictures clicked with them for like 1 hour, and you want to be nice to everybody, you're smiling, and I am a person who's like always very happy meeting people and all, but it does drain you a lot. And yeah, man, like the way I replenish it, I'll just go back home, I'll just talk to my friends, just go for a drive or something like that, watch some anime, some movie or something, and then I'm back on track the next day. Yeah. So
You mentioned anime a few times.
yeah, I love it.
And,
But
and before we start recording, and before
don't ask me technical questions or
I'm
something,
not asking
because
technical
then
questions, I wouldn't know what to ask from
oh,
a
then
technical
it's fine.
perspective.
Then you can ask.
And before we start recording, you also mentioned that Lego has played a strong part.
Yeah. Yeah.
And since the show is called Take a Pause, I have to ask you, saying, what are the things that you do when you take a pause? You've already given me two things, one before we record, one now. Why anime?
I have always been interested in art, and that shows in my artwork as well. Like it's always paintings and drawing, and I used to paint as well when I was a kid. I really wanted to become a book artist, but I just got into music, so that's something that I started doing. I think I could tell like really cool stories, and I just feel that anime is like the best mixture of art, storytelling, and it's just there's so much drama in it, and like the action that's there, it just makes me really happy. I find a lot of comfort watching anime, and like even movies like Spirited Away. I don't know whether you know about this, like Howl's Moving Castle and all. They're just so beautifully weird. I think my mind is very similar, I feel, because it just goes into all of these like weird tangents and all of those things. I feel that my mind is very similar. So I just find a lot of beauty in it. It makes me very happy. There are a lot of times whenever I'm writing, I'll just put one of these movies or like one of these shows on mute and but on the TV, and I'll just start playing, and for some reason that just does something to me. Like it just makes all the colors and all that come, right, like all just the way they are drawing the art style and all, it just does something to me, and I genuinely feel that I get more creative whenever I see it. So it's just, I think it just stimulates my mind, I guess. So that's what happens.
No, there's actually there's a lot of study behind this, right? It's saying that what you place in your environment almost helps you channel the kind of mindset you want, right? There's this lovely book called Joyful, which talks about this thing, literally like how, like what you place on your table, what you have in your room, the colors of the walls,
Yeah.
to what you're playing, even on mute. They almost, almost like a subconscious level are helping you channel aspects of you which you don't even realize. And I love the fact that you said beautifully weird,
Yeah.
because oftentimes weird is not considered beautiful, but I feel that most weird things are beautiful in many ways.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to tap into what you think beautifully weird means.
I don't know, man. Like, for example, me, I think I'm a very weird person. Especially the people around me would definitely say that, yeah, he's a very weird guy. I have a very weird, like very weird ideas, and a lot of things come to me naturally which generally people don't get, like just these weird concepts and weird ideas that I would love to write about, and like love to make stories about and all. And for some reason I have channeled a lot of it into my creative process and like making music as well, and I would like to say that the songs have come out beautifully. So it's just like, it's not exactly weird, it's just like being different. We don't have to be the same. Like everybody has their own weird things going on in their own lives and all. like like for example, anime, right? Like I know a lot of people love anime, but I know that a lot of people might find it weird as well. Okay, bro, like why are you watching cartoons every night? Like what's good? But I just find a lot of comfort in it. For some reason, it's like a bit, this is something that's weird about me. I'm sorry if I'm going like a little off topic, but
No, no, not at all.
there is whenever I'm sleeping, I watch, for some reason I'll put on like horror movies in the background, and the first half of it when I'm awake, it's like very soft, that soft suspense music, right? It gives me a lot of comfort, and all the screaming and all, when that is happening, I'm sleeping. So that's also something that's weird about me, and I have a lot of these weird things which people generally would say that they're weird, but they make me the person that I am, and I think that's very beautiful. So
And that's something we all have, right? We all have our quirks. We all have our inner weirdness. We all hide it. I think most people hide it, and some of us end up channeling it in our own different ways. Is that what inspired Mazaak?
um not exactly, but in a way, yes, as well, because it's not about something that's weird. It's about the weird things that I've started saying. So I was with somebody, like I've been with someone for a bit now, and with this person though, I have never said a lot of these things to anybody else in my life that I've said to this person, right? And I find it very weird that, like, what's going on, man? Like, ये क्या मजाक चल रहा है life में? Okay, मतलब, what's happening? But it's fine. I think just saying this to that person is a very beautiful thing, and I'm glad that I saved all of these things for that person, so like I can say this, and I am also like confused most of the times, like, oh, what's going on? Like, why am I being so like in love and all of that? But yeah.
Do you draw inspirations from these things? And like, do you have a point where in that moment, okay, where something's hit me when you are not sitting and writing, and you do you put that down somewhere, or do they all kind of collect somewhere in your head, and when you sit down to write, they all come back?
Um, when I sit down, and it's never like, I think for me, whenever I have my guitar with me, there are a lot of times when I'll just like start playing the guitar and I'll start going into the zone, right? And the words just come naturally. And for some reason, and it has always worked out for me, every time I do this, some new thing comes which I have felt in the day or something like that. So I have to sit down and do it. It doesn't, I'm not like, it's not like I'm walking and something just strikes me and I like write it down. So that doesn't work for me. but I have to sit down and then think about things that, oh, this is what I felt on that particular day, and like let's write about this and all of those things.
No, I ask that because oftentimes you'll have an idea which strikes you at the randomest of moments.
Yeah.
Um, and I've always wondered is that do you almost put like a okay, I'll come back to this as just like a line and come back, or you're actually able, if you're able to store it for that moment, then that's a whole different scene.
I actually have a lot of these lines that I had written probably years ago, but I'm just like waiting for the right moment. Even in Mazaak, for that matter, it's funny that we're on this topic. The first few lines of the song talks about gaalon ke gaddhe, right, which is basically dimples, right? And I don't think anybody has called them gaalon ke gaddhe before. And when I came up with this, like I was sitting down a few years ago and I had come up with this, and I was so proud of myself that, oh, this is crazy. I'm gonna put it in a song. And I kept on waiting, like very patiently, very patiently, very patiently. Now finally, I found that right person and that right moment to write it for. So yeah, basically it gets stored in my head.
Yeah. And I feel that's the most interesting part about any creative process, which people don't get it, is that it's a constant.
Yeah.
It's like you're storing stuff,
Yeah.
and then sometimes you need to offload it onto like onto a page, onto a notebook or somewhere else, and then you got to go back to it many sometimes years later, not
Yeah.
even like months later, and it makes more sense when you read it maybe later than if you read it at that point of
Yeah.
time. How often do you go back to older stuff and
A
say, okay,
lot, a lot of times. I mean, because I have been very creative throughout my life that way. So like I had written a lot, very beautiful things like in the beginning as well, and I use it now. Even some of the songs that I had written when I was 16, I'm just releasing them right now. So I keep on going back to the older stuff that I have written. But it has really helped me. It's actually, the funny thing is that whenever I find something that's a little old, deciding when to put it and where to put it is the tricky bit. That, oh, is does this place deserve that idea that I have been holding on so close to my heart since the last, I don't know, 10 years, and now I'm finally giving it out, like putting it out. So that's a bit tricky. But till now, I think I've, in like, for me personally, I have done a good job. Like wherever I've put it, I'm very happy and content that, okay, I gave this song this particular idea and I did not gatekeep it for something else. So yeah.
and relationships and human connection is what I've noticed is the core that you tap into, right? You're gonna think that you get most of its your ideas for what you're writing, what you're creating from. Do you also have a thought of saying, okay, this is where I'm beginning and I'm going to spread from there, or is this something which this is where my energy comes from too?
No, I think this is where my energy comes from. This is, I want to talk about my relationship with people. I think that's a very beautiful thing to write about. And that's something that I connect with the most. Dialogues and people talking to each other. A lot of my music has dialogues in it as well, like things that, people say to each other and all. I love doing that. So till now, I think I'm going to do that. But hopefully, I'll maybe someday be able to write about my own relationship with myself and my mind. I would love to write something about that as well, because I think I have a weird mind, like I said, right? So I would love to maybe put it down on a piece of paper and maybe release it someday.
That's the most tricky relationship we all have, right? It's
Yeah,
the
with
relationship with
ourselves. With
ourselves.
ourselves, yes.
It's easier to. I often say this. I'm like at home more than anywhere else. I'm like it's easier for me to have a relationship with people in my life, or even like someone I've met, than for me to actually sit down and try to really understand myself, have a conversation with myself. It's the one thing which, at least for me, scares me the most oftentimes, because you don't know where that conversation goes, which is why I cannot meditate to save my life. But do you have a conversation with yourself?
Oh, I'm having a conversation with myself right now. It's a constant thing. I think I talk to myself a lot, and I don't particularly say that I have the best relationship with myself, so to speak, but it's getting better. But I do talk a lot with myself. Like it's unhealthy the amount of conversations that I have in my head.
And do you feel that helps you channel and kind of like, because that's also a good mechanism if you can build it for you to kind of get perspective,
Yeah, that's
get
true.
clarity, and everything
That's
else.
true. That's true. But it sometimes like works in a negative way as well, because sometimes there's like a lot of negative thought as well. That, oh, you're not good at this, or you're like telling yourself like, why am I telling myself that? Like I should be telling myself positive things, right? But generally, yes. Like whenever I talk to myself, like there are these lists and all that are going on, and okay, this is done, this is done, this is done. Okay, now this is what we have to achieve. Every day I'll keep on telling myself that this is what we have to get, this is what we have to get. Make everybody around us proud and all. And like there's so many conversations going on. Oh, don't say something stupid. Okay, now you can say this. Or, this will sound funny and all. So much goes on, man. So yeah, it can like really be very negative as well. It can like really pull you back from certain situations where you're not that free. You're constantly like discussing things with yourself and then putting it out in the world. But sometimes it does help as well, yeah, to just uh, put things into perspective and just like figure things out.
I was reading this concept some psychologist was writing about, saying, we often believe that it's our mind talking to us,
Yeah,
but whenever it's negative, he termed it as something called chatter.
yeah.
Saying over time, you got to realize, is it chatter or is it your mind talking to you? Because the chatter is often like kind of pull you away and giving you all the, telling you can't do this, you can't do that. And the more you realize that it's not one voice in your head, it's actually two voices, it's easier for you to segregate that and figure it out.
I have a very similar idea that I have read about. It's basically, I think there's a loss of control that we have. Our mind will, for example, like you said, that, that resistance that you have to sit down and actually work, but your mind will keep on telling you, it's fine, bro. Like, go out, go for a drive, do something else, don't sit and all. I think that also works. But what I try to do right now is that I'm trying really hard and it's working out for me as well, is that I'll I'll just tell myself that it's just my mind talking. My body doesn't have to react to that and like doesn't have to move if I want to eat junk food at night. I'm like having those cravings, but I know for a fact that next day my personal trainer is gonna kill me, for having chips the previous night. I tell myself that okay, I am still in control of my body. I don't have to listen to my mind. It can keep on that chatter thing, like it can keep on going on and on, but I can tell myself that okay, don't move your body, just keep it there, just sleep.
The one thing I found out about you just before we got into this is that you like to be on time
Yes.
all the time.
Yeah.
What is this need? I know it's a good thing for people like me who who end up being late very often. What is your how did your focus on being on time happen?
I have no clue. It's just something that's, I don't even know where it came from, but maybe it's just my constant need to satisfy people. I don't know, but it's just something that makes me very happy. I am the happiest when I'm on time and when things are on time. I get really like worked up when shows don't start on time because I'm always on time. In fact, like every time I'm at a show, I always get a compliment from the promoters that we have worked with a lot of artists, but you are always on time. So I'm very happy about that compliment. Like people can say everything, or we love your songs and all, that is secondary. Being on time is very important. So I don't know where it comes from, but I take a lot of pride in the fact that I try to be on time as much as possible. Because the thing is that I feel very responsible when I have made a commitment, right, to certain people, and I feel that responsibility on my head that if I've made that commitment, it has to happen like on time and on point. So I think that's where it comes from. It's just like my own morals or values, I guess. That's how it is.
You mentioned that you are you a people pleaser? Do you think you're a people pleaser?
In some ways, yes, but in a lot of ways, no. I'm in the middle, I think, because it's very easy for me to say no. I don't listen to anybody when it comes to things that I like and I don't like. I'm pretty well defined when it comes to that, and I can say no very easily. I've never found it difficult. But at the same time, for all the good things, like for example, being here on time, I have to be here on time. I want people to know that okay, uh, I am a disciplined kid. I will be here on time. I will do everything as per what they want me to do. So that way, but that's actually a good thing because I'm professional. I think that's just being professional. So that's how it is.
How does someone learn how to say no? You since you mentioned this that you're very good at it, and there are enough people across who struggle with it, including me. How do you say no?
I don't know, man. It's a very easy word to say, to say no. But the thing is that I have realized that when you say yes to something that you don't want to do, you're not going to put your heart into it, and eventually you're just going to feel very sucky about it. Oh, why am I doing this, man? Like, I don't feel that great about it. So it's just better to say no in the beginning than getting people's hopes up and also. Yeah, I just say no. It's very easy. Yeah, it's actually funny because like there are a few people around me as well who find it difficult to say it, but in my head it's just a very normal thing. Just say no, man, I don't want to do this. Like, let's do something else. This is not something that interests me. I think it's about time. I'm not wasting anybody's time. I'm just like helping people, I guess.
So you're spinning it around by saying I'm actually saying no to
Yeah, to
save
save
people's
this
time, and
time.
so you made that into yeah. That's an interesting way to look at it, and suddenly that changes perspective, and you're like, okay, now you spun that one around, saying it's actually a good thing that I'm saying no.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a piece of advice you've gotten over the years that you go back to?
Yeah, there is this one thing. So one of my relatives, I was working with him for a bit, and I was not doing a very good job at this business. Okay, because I was constantly going back to him and asking him questions for the teeniest, tiniest things. He called me one day to his office and he was like, just sit down with me. I sat with him and he said that, why do you think I have hired you? And I said, do you know, like, do work and all those things? He said, no, I have hired you to take decisions. Okay, you have your own mind, you take decisions. If I had to tell you everything to do, like that you had to do, then I would have just done it myself. So that's something that really stayed with me, because I realized that day that life is all about taking decisions. And the quicker you understand that you have to take some very hard decisions in your own life, and you have to stand by them, like stick with these decisions, and work, hope for the best, or just like backtrack and then take better decisions. But nobody's going to come and help you out. You have to do certain things in your own life and on your own. That really helped me out. It's such a simple concept, taking decisions, but people rely on other people a lot, I feel. But for example, like me, leaving everything, like my business, everything, and getting into music is not a decision that anybody else took for me. It was a decision that I took at 24, 25, and I was still pretty young to be deciding something like that for myself. But I took that decision, and I'm going to stand by it. I'm going to figure out shit and see how things go. um, that was a very hard decision that I took. But that was the only reason I took that, was because of that conversation that I had with my relative. That I realized that this is my decision, this is my life. I have to take the decision. It's a very simple concept, like I said, but people really need to understand that if you're being hired by someone, it's for taking decisions, and you'll make a lot of mistakes. There's going to be a lot of problems, but eventually you'll learn enough that you'll start taking the right ones. That's something that, like, a thing that has really stayed with me.
Thank you so much for doing this, man. I often end episodes in a spot where it doesn't feel like an end, and we're leaving the audience hoping
For more.
for more. And we'll hopefully do this again so we can continue it and
Definitely.
tap into more things. But thank
Definitely.
you so much for coming on Take a Pause.
I loved it, man. Thank you so much. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Um, this was actually very different from the conversations that I've had before. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how people react and like what they think.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that as well.
Yeah.